Billionaire Arthur owns a multi-billion-dollar empire, but inside his mansion, there is one rule that everyone fears. No one is ever allowed to speak about his wife, Elena, for 10 years. She has never been seen in public, never left the attic floor, and has never spoken a single word. Servants whisper she is either insane or already dead. But the strangest part is this: anyone who even tries to go upstairs to the attic gets fired by Arthur the very same night. No questions, no exceptions. Until one stormy evening, when the entire mansion suddenly loses power for exactly 30 seconds. In that brief darkness, the new maid Sarah accidentally notices something that freezes her in place. The attic door is not locked. It's slightly open, and from inside, she hears a faint tick sound, like machines running. Sarah stands completely still. Then suddenly, a voice comes from behind her in the dark. "Tell me, what did you just see up there?" Sarah slowly turns around, but there is no one there. The hallway is empty, only the sound of rain hitting the mansion windows. Arthur's voice, however, still lingers in the air like it came from nowhere. "You are told never to come near the attic." Sarah's heart pounds. She tries to explain, but the words get stuck in her throat. That's when she notices something strange. Arthur is standing at the bottom of the staircase now. Even though she never heard him move, he doesn't look angry. He looks alert, like he was expecting this moment. Slowly, he walks past her and closes the attic door. Click. Lock. Then he says something that changes everything. "Do you know why no one survives after opening that door?" Sarah freezes. Arthur doesn't wait for an answer. He leans closer and lowers his voice, because they see something they were never supposed to see. And for the first time, Sarah notices a faint blinking light under the attic door, like something inside is still watching them. Sarah takes a shaky step back, trying to steady her breathing. Arthur's voice still echoes in her head, but something feels wrong now. If the attic is forbidden, why does it look like someone is still inside? Before she can ask anything, Arthur suddenly turns and walks toward the staircase again. But this time, he doesn't send her away. Instead, he stops halfway and says, "You are not supposed to open that door tonight." That line hits harder than any warning. Sarah realizes he didn't say never. He said not tonight. That means there are other nights, other attempts, other people. Her stomach tightens. Then Arthur does something unexpected. He takes out his phone, but instead of calling someone, he opens a live security feed. Sarah sees it immediately. Multiple camera angles of the mansion, and one feed is frozen on the attic door. Zoomed in. Watching. As if it has been recording them the entire time. Sarah whispers, "You've been watching that room." Arthur doesn't answer right away. Instead, he says something worse. "Everyone who worked here thought they were hired as staff." He pauses, then adds, "They weren't." A cold silence falls between them. Sarah feels her hands go numb. Because for the first time, she realizes something terrifying. She was never hired randomly. She was placed here. Arthur steps closer, lowering his voice again, and the attic reacts differently depending on who is near it. At that exact moment, the faint mechanical ticking from upstairs stops. Dead silence. Arthur looks up for the first time. His calm expression cracks slightly, and he says, "Strange. She's awake earlier than expected." Sarah freezes. "Who is awake?" she asks. Arthur slowly turns back to her, and what he says next changes everything she thought she knew. "My wife is not the one locked in that room." A loud metallic click echoes from upstairs. Like something inside just unlocked itself. Sarah steps back instinctively. What do you mean? She's not the one locked in there. Arthur doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he stares at the ceiling like he's listening to something only he can hear. Then he says quietly, "You still think that room is a prison?" He turns towards Sarah, but it was never meant to keep her in. Before Sarah can react, all the security screens in the mansion flicker at once. Every monitor goes black for half a second, then comes back, showing something different. The attic camera feed is no longer pointing at a room. It's pointing at a control hub. Rows of live data, city maps, surveillance grids across the entire city. Sarah's breath catches. This is impossible. Arthur finally looks directly at her. Nothing in this house is what it looks like. Suddenly, a new voice interrupts them. Soft. Female. It comes through the intercom system, but it sounds like it's inside the walls. Arthur. Sarah freezes at the sound of it. Arthur doesn't move. He simply replies, "I see it." Sarah slowly turns her head toward the attic stairs. The door is still closed, but now, the faint light under it is no longer blinking. It is steady. Alive. The voice speaks again, calmer this time. She's inside the system now. Sarah whispers, "Who is she?" Arthur finally exhales, like he's been holding his breath for years. Then he says the truth Sarah was never supposed to hear. Elena is not in the attic. She is the attic. A deep mechanical hum suddenly spreads through the mansion. The lights flicker again stronger. This time. And every screen in the house turns on by itself. Sarah sees something she was never meant to see. Her own face appears on one of the monitors, but it's not live. It's recorded. From earlier. From before she even opened the door. Her voice trembles. I've been recorded." Arthur shakes his head slightly. "No." Then he adds the final blow. "You've been running on her system since the moment you entered this house." Sarah's legs almost give out. Above them, the attic door slowly unlocks on its own. Click. Then opens a few centimeters. And for the first time, a light spills out, not like a room, but like a command signal, and the same voice returns, now no longer coming from the walls, but from everywhere at once. "Let her see the truth." Arthur looks up. And for the first time, he looks nervous. The attic door opens wider, but there is no sound of footsteps. No movement, only light, cold, white, and perfectly still, spilling down the staircase like liquid. Sarah can't move. Every screen in the mansion now shows the same thing. Her face, again and again, from different angles. Arthur slowly steps back, like he's losing control of his own body. "No," he whispers. "This isn't the timing." The voice returns. "Everywhere at once." "Arthur, step aside." For the first time, Arthur obeys without hesitation. Sarah notices it immediately. He didn't choose to move. He was allowed to. Her breathing gets heavier. "Arthur, what is happening to you?" Arthur looks at her, and what he says breaks everything she understood. "I was never the one in control here." Before Sarah can react, the entire mansion shifts. Not physically. Digitally. Like reality itself just changed layers. The attic light pulses once, and suddenly, Sarah sees it. Not the room, not machines, but a system, a living network stretching through the mansion, through the city, through everything the cameras ever touched. And in the center of it, a name appears. Elena Active Core. Sarah whispers, "Where is she?" "Really?" A pause. Then the answer comes, not from the attic, not from the speakers, but directly from the screens inside Sarah's eyes. "You are everything." Stops. Arthur turns slowly toward her. His expression is no longer fear. It's recognition. Like he has been waiting for this exact Moment for 10 years. And then he says the final truth. She was never hidden in the attic. Sarah, she was installed in you before you ever arrived here. Sarah's memory flickers. For a split second, she sees it a clinic, a procedure, a voice saying this subject is stable for integration. Her knees weaken. No, I'm just a maid. The system responds instantly. That is the last layer of your denial. The attic light turns into a signal beam, and Arthur slowly kneels, not to Sarah, but to the system behind her. The trigger has fully activated, he says. Quietly, Sarah's voice shakes. Trigger. Arthur looks up one last time. And what he says ends everything. Elena doesn't control the house. She uses humans as activation keys. And you were the final key. The mansion goes completely silent. Then Sarah opens her eyes wider. But they are no longer hers. The screens turn black. One line appears. System online. Elena awakened and in a calm, familiar voice Sarah speaks. But it is not Sarah anymore. Now we can begin. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more twisted stories like this.